I'm going to be going through the 5-minute short horror film Murder of Crows and explaining the conventions that were used, developed or challenged, mainly used. So let's get into it, shall we? This opening sequence, the glitchy effects, the creepy visuals, the loud music, it was very much drawn from, well, many horror films openings, what with the music and that, but the main sort of inspiration was from found footage horror. That's where we got that from. The glitchy effects tend to introduce a found footage horror film, and what with their recent popularity just skyrocketing, we thought that we would open it like that, you know, and it works really well. It helps to make the introductions a little bit more interesting, because otherwise you end up having just a white screen with some normal text. It relaxes the audience, and whilst that may work on some, that's not what we wanted for this film. We wanted to offset the audience a bit. So having the glitchy effect, then having the creepy visual, then having the loud music, you know, it really builds up, helps just nerve the audience a bit. That's what we wanted. Yeah, that was good right there. The sudden change of sound and location, it was there to act as a sort of Luton bus shock, or jump scare, if you will. The sudden change was supposed to make the audience jump a little bit, pretty much. It's a cheap scare, definitely a cheap scare, but it's something that you see in most any horror film since the 1930s, I think it is. It's just everywhere. It's become really popular in video games recently. The horror series of video games, Five Nights at Freddy's. It's off topic, but you know, it's just one of those things. It seeps into anything horror, pretty much.
What number are you trying to call?
I don't know. The voice for the guy on the phone, it's a convention, but not in the way that some might think. The convention is the hidden villain. That's what it is. You want your villain to be mysterious. It's the unknown killer, or unknown threat, people might say. It just, you know, it keeps, you know, you change the voice and you keep his identity hidden. That's what it was. We got inspiration from the film Saw. That's, you know, I mean, we changed it a bit because he has a very deep voice, and that makes him sound more intimidating. We didn't want the intimidation, pretty much. We wanted a more psychotic villain, someone that you didn't know where he stood. And I think making his voice higher, you know, it made him a lot more creepier. He made sure you couldn't get on his good side. There is no good side to anybody psychotic, you know.
I don't think so.
You never told me your name.
Why do you want to know my name?
Because I want to know who I'm looking at.
What?
Yeah, that's a nice one right there. You really don't know who the killer is, where they're coming from. That's a nice convention. The unknown whereabouts of the killer, that's in any slasher film, really, where she just, you know, he says, I want to know who I'm looking at. That's good there, that shot just there, where he's, you know, he's in the background, he's hiding just out of view of her. If she turns her head slightly, boom, she's seen. You know, it's that kind of thing. It's that kind of, the villain's lurking somewhere in the background. That's what we like. this is where the female protagonist sort of convention really starts to set in. You know, it's coming up properly in a second. Just give it a second here. Yeah, there. With that one scream, she is now the stereotype. Yeah, the female protagonist convention really sets in there, where she's this scared, sort of weak individual. She doesn't really know what to do. We didn't want to, ironically. We tried to challenge this throughout the front, where she's back talking, I should say. She's being very smart and clever to the villain, because we wanted to try and show that she is the strong protagonist female, but we just couldn't avoid it. We just couldn't. You can't get the audience to care, I should say, or relate to the main character if the main character's not going to do things that they would do. It's just, it doesn't work very well. So having her, you know, get scared, run about the house, locking the doors, you know, when the doctor says, you hang up on me and I'll gut you like a fish. Somebody with that kind of voice rings you up on the phone and says, I'll gut you like a fish. You go crazy. You do. You just run around, you lock all your doors, you become the scared person. And we had to do that for the female protagonist, unfortunately. Not say it's a bad convention, because it's in a lot of them and it works for a horror film. It really does work, frankly. Yeah, it just does. But I didn't really want to do it because it doesn't represent women all that well. But if it's in there, it's in there. We didn't use it. We didn't develop it. Sorry, we used it. We didn't develop it. We just tried to challenge it.
No, no.
What? Don't like this. I thought it was a good look for him.
No, no, don't hurt him, please, no.
This part right here, I love. I say I love, that makes me sound quite sadistic, I suppose. I love filming this part here as well. It's a convention of blood and gore. It kind of links into screaming right there. You know, he gets stabbed in the leg and he starts to scream in pain. Caitlin screaming, no, don't hurt him. Yeah, so that's two conventions in one, but no, that's two really quite vital for a slasher film. You need the blood, you need the gore. This was heavily inspired by Saw again. The whole torture scene, I don't like the word torture, but it is. It just is. Where the villain is literally toying with the protagonist, and it just is inspired by Saw. But it's the actual convention here, the gore convention, you need it. You know, there's lots of blood. You need blood in a horror film to make it work. And the screaming is good, especially if the audience has connected with the main character, because the main character will start to scream, and the audience will start to not necessarily scream, but relate to that emotion, that scared sort of expression. Because nobody screams unless they are petrified of something, and in this situation you would be petrified. You know, it's again that kind of relating your audience to your main character.
I wanna play a game.
Fine, I'll play.
Good. Rules are simple. Answer the riddles right. He lives. Answer them wrong. Both of you will die.
You're insane! No!
Fine. Say it, Linus.
And that pretty much brings us to our last convention that we had there, and that's death. You just simply cannot have a horror film without death. Death is one of those things that everybody has a reaction to, but it's never a good reaction. You know, a lot of people are scared of death because you don't know what happens with death. You are dead. Nobody knows what comes after it. So it's in every single horror film, a slasher film especially.
Hello?
Hello,
Yeah?
who's this?
Who are you trying to call?
We're starting using the comic conventions more than challenging them or developing them. It's down to it being a short film. We had a short film, we had 5 minutes, and we didn't have the time to properly develop the conventions or properly challenge the conventions. If we had, then we would have done it, but we just didn't, you know. And you know, that's what conventions are there for. It's to save the time. An audience member, I definitely, but most most members of an audience will go into a slasher film and expect screaming. They will expect death. They will expect a hidden villain. They will expect jump scares at certain points. You know, it saves time, and just because they're used often doesn't mean they can't be still used well. Yeah, and that's it.